Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. United Nations peacekeeping troops face opposition in various African countries. What's fueling the sentiment? We'll have a report and analysis. Kenya's health ministry rolls out a digital health information system to help workers diagnose patients and store their health records. And Israel pulls tanks out of some Gaza City districts as it announces plans to shift tactics and cut back on troop numbers in its war with Hamas. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. We begin our broadcast in East Africa, where Somalia is rejecting on Tuesday a pact its breakaway region of Somaliland has signed with Ethiopia, allowing it to use the Red Sea port of Berbera because it has no legal force and threatens regional stability. Somalia has also summoned its ambassador to Ethiopia for deliberations over the port agreement signed by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Somaliland President Muse Bihi Abdi.
This will be
the starting point for our cooperation with the brotherly people of Somaliland to grow and develop together in cooperation and to ensure our common security. As we have repeatedly stated previously, we do not wish to use force on anyone. Rather, we wish to use what we have cooperatively. This is the good news we bring to all the people of Ethiopia, Somaliland, and all the peace and development-loving people on this first day of the new year.
We are very happy, and we thank the Ethiopian Prime Minister as we sign the agreement here. We allow them 20 kilometers of our sea, and they will also recognize us as an independent state. They will become the first state to recognize Somaliland after the signing of this Memorandum of Understanding.
The move paves the way to allow Ethiopia to have commercial marine operations in the region by giving it access to a leased military base on the Red Sea. Somaliland is to receive a stake in the state-owned Ethiopian Airlines. In parts of Africa, there is growing opposition to the presence of United Nations peacekeeping troops. Some host countries say the UN is very ineffective and has failed to bring about peace and stability. BOA's Paul Ndiho has more.
UN peacekeeping missions in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Sudan, Mali, and the Central African Republic are encountering significant challenges. For example, at the request of the Malian authorities, the UN Security Council decided to withdraw the UN's peacekeeping operation in Mali last year. The mission ended its decade-long UN presence in the country. The outgoing special representative of the UN Secretary General, Al-Ghashim Wine, reflects on the UN's achievements and the way forward in the UN-Mali relationship.
I believe that the mission has delivered or achieved important results. There is no doubt about it. When it comes to the protection of civilians, obviously we can't provide physical protection to every single Malian who is in need of it. But in areas where the mission was deployed, there was a clear impact, tangible, visible by local populations.
In December, the UN Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution to renew the mandate of the UN Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo for 1 year until December 2024. After more than 20 years on the ground, analysts say there is little to show for, especially in eastern DRC, where war still rages. Congolese authorities have persistently called for the UN to withdraw its troops from the country, saying it has failed to protect civilians from armed groups. Last year, the UN Security Council unanimously approved a new Africa Union transition mission to Somalia to support the Somalis until their forces take full responsibility for the country's security at the end of 2024. The UN transition mission replaced the Africa Union mission in Somalia, known as AMISOM, which had been in the Horn of Africa nation for the last 15 years, helping rebuilding Somalia. Security experts say UN missions operate under very strict guidelines that limit their activities, need help to maintain general security effectively, stabilize volatile situations, and protect civilians. UN peacekeeping forces, for example, are not authorized to use a lethal force except in self-defense or in defense of their mandate. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Experts from new BRICS member nations are lauding the benefits of joining the intergovernmental organization. It enables their countries to unleash their potential for economic development while emphasizing their commitment to injecting new vitality into the cooperation mechanism. Ethiopia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Iran are officially becoming BRIC members.
So the investment that's going to come from the BRICS countries are going to be to fuel our development here. And the second thing is we're located in the Horn of Africa, where Ethiopia is a gateway to the rest of the continent. So definitely BRICS will benefit Ethiopia very much, and Ethiopia will also reciprocate these benefits in a major way.
Undoubtedly, joining the BRICS cooperation mechanism brings benefits to Egypt, given the substantial economic growth potential and international influence of most BRICS member countries. Thus, Egypt has long harbored the aspiration to become a member country of BRICS, aiming to strengthen ties with other member countries, attract investments, and search for alternatives to the US dollar for payments. Achieving local currency settlements with BRICS members will be a crucial step towards Egypt's pursuit of de-dollarization.
The addition of the new countries will contribute to reforming the international financial monetary systems, increasing their representation and voice of developing countries, and pushing the international monetary system towards diversification. People across Africa are starting the new year with hopes that it will turn out better than 2023. Reporter Gibson Emeka spoke to some Nigerians in Abuja.
2023, although it was a blessing, but it was difficult.
I did not enjoy 2023 because of the scarcity of plenty things, money, all this stuff, everything. Like, I did not enjoy it. I prefer last year than this year. Even the presidential stuff is something else. The person that will vote for is not the person that is even sitting down on the seat. It's so very annoying. And if you go to the market now, the cost of things is much.
Personally, for me, 2023 started very rough. And even towards the middle, it was rough for me. But I'm happy that it's ending on a happier note, on a more enthusiastic and optimistic note. Financially, I didn't have the capability. I was almost getting to hopeless because I was seeing as if there's no way for me to make it in 2023.
Nigerians speaking to VOA about their New Year's aspirations. 5 Japanese Coast Guard crew members are dead after a Coast Guard plane collided with a Japanese passenger jet and caught fire Tuesday night at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. All 379 passengers and crew were evacuated from the burning jet. Video shows a burst of flames from one side of the plane as it rolled down the runway. The plane eventually became fully engulfed as it came to a stop. The Japanese Airlines Airbus 350 jetliner had just landed at Haneda after a flight from Shin-Chitose Airport on northern Hokkaido Island. The Coast Guard plane was reportedly on its way to the Japanese west coast to deliver aid to the survivors of Monday's deadly earthquake. Amid fierce fighting on Tuesday in central and southern Gaza, Israel's army says several thousand troops will be pulled out of Gaza in the coming weeks, but Israeli officials have not said publicly whether the withdrawal reflects a new phase of its war with Hamas. Alex Cohen has more.
Israel is withdrawing some of its forces from Gaza to shift to more targeted operations against Hamas, an official said on Monday. These soldiers were seen repairing equipment at a base near the Gaza border. A base commander said they would return to the enclave soon. The shift to mopping up operations signals a new phase in Israel's offensive and is expected to last for months. Some of the troops pulled out of Gaza would be prepared for rotation to the northern border with Lebanon, an official said. The reduction would also allow some reservists to return to civilian life, shoring up Israel's war-battered economy. On Monday, the U.S. Navy announced the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier was returning to its home port in Virginia after being deployed to the eastern Mediterranean following the outbreak of hostilities. The war in Gaza has reduced much of the territory to rubble and plunged its 2.3 million people into a humanitarian disaster. Palestinian health authorities say around 22,000 people have been killed. The assault on the enclave followed the surprise Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th, in which Israel said 1,200 people were killed and 240 taken hostage. Israel's defense minister said Monday that some of the Israeli communities north of the Gaza Strip that were evacuated would be able to return in the near future. At this Palestinian tent camp in Rafah on New Year's Eve, children played in the sand while they focused on their survival. This 11-year-old girl said her wish for 2024 was not to die. There is no bathroom, no food, no water. Our childhood is gone, she said. Nearby at the Rafah Zoo, displaced people camped out between cages, holding starving animals. Some of the families sheltering here say they cannot afford food themselves.
Alex Cohen of Reuters filed that report. Would like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, one U.S. city is way ahead in adapting to a drier future amid a devastating drought. We'll be right back. In other news, Chad's transitional president, General Mahamat Idriss Déby Itno, has appointed one of his leading opponents, Success Masra, who recently returned from exile as prime minister. Masra, president of the Transformers Party, was a bitter opponent of the regime, returned to Chad in November after reaching an agreement with the military leaders. Legendary South African photojournalist Peter Magubane has died at 91. He was a fearless photographer who captured the violence and horror of South Africa's apartheid era of racial oppression and was entrusted with documenting Nelson Mandela's first years of freedom after his release from prison. And the NBA has named Claire Akamanzi, an accomplished African business executive and international trade and investment lawyer, as CEO of NBA Africa. Akamanzi will oversee the NBA's business and basketball development efforts in Africa. She was previously CEO of Rwanda's Development Board, where she spearheaded Rwanda's economic development by enabling private sector growth. The Colorado River supports the largest cities in the southwestern U.S. One of them is way ahead in adapting to a drier future. Matt Debo has the second story in our series, River at Risk.
The sprawling city of Las Vegas is in one of the most arid regions of the United States. This dazzling oasis with a reputation for excess would seem to be an unlikely model for water conservation. But the city is a water success story.
Our community's consumption of Colorado River water has declined by approximately 30%, while our community's population has also increased by more than 750,000 people during that same time. We are providing less water to more people today than we did 2 decades ago, and that's because of water conservation.
The biggest savings come from recycling wastewater and sending it back into nearby Lake Mead to be used again.
We have the Colorado River system. We take water out of the Boulder Basin of the Lake Mead. We bring it into the Las Vegas Valley as our drinking water source. When the water goes back in the sanitary sewer system, we bring that to a treatment plant that's close to the Las Vegas Wash. We treat the water to very, very high standards. The water goes back into the Las Vegas Wash and goes back into Lake Mead, and then we reuse it again.
Which means that some of the wastewater being treated here could end up flowing from a tap on the Las Vegas Strip again in just a few days.
And the only way that can happen is if we treat this water very, very effectively.
This state-of-the-art facility lets microorganisms do most of the work.
We have to treat to a level that's above 98% of the other treatment plants around the country. So after this water leaves here, it's going to travel to the Las Vegas Wash, which is just to our east. Then it goes down to the Las Vegas Bay of Lake Mead, and at that point it's re-entered the Colorado River system.
For every liter of water returned to the system, Las Vegas can remove a liter without counting against its overall allocation. For the 60% of water that never becomes wastewater, the city has taken other steps, like limiting swimming pool size and evaporative cooling systems. Grass lawns, which are notorious water consumers, are banned in new housing developments. And the city pays homeowners to replace existing grass with desert landscaping. And to make sure the rules are enforced, there is a team of water cops.
Runoff due to misaligned sprinklers along the sidewalk. The water is running down into the gutter.
Johnny Cerrone is one of 14 wastewater investigators who patrol the city looking for infractions, like watering on the wrong day or faulty sprinklers.
We are actually out here most of everything is to educate people. Most of the people there are grateful when we let them know that something is wrong, and they're like, oh, that's why my water bill is so high.
As successful as these efforts have been, the region will still need to conserve more. To meet new requirements, Nevada has agreed to cut around 1/4 of its current yearly allocation for the next 3 years. And the population continues to grow. Matt Dibble, VOA News, Las Vegas, Nevada.
We'll have another of the series, River at Risk, for you tomorrow, featuring the Colorado River. 2023 demolished temperature records worldwide. It was the hottest year on record, as some scientists say the hottest in 125,000 years. Those supercharged temperatures helped drive a series of climate disasters around the world. VOA Steve Baragona has a look back.
Wildfires in Canada, flooding in Libya. 2 disasters in a year of weather extremes. 2023 will go down as the hottest year on record. Every month from June through November was the hottest for that time of year.
July 2023 was the warmest July on record for the globe, and it was the warmest July by a long shot.
September's global temperatures were so much hotter than normal that one climate scientist called them absolutely gobsmackingly bananas. Relentless heating from human-driven climate change, plus the periodic global weather phenomenon known as El Niño, drove extreme weather around the world.
So we know with this extra heat in the atmosphere, it brings with it extra energy, which means we get more intense extreme events.
Not every bout of bad weather is due to climate change. But climate scientists with the World Weather Attribution website found the fingerprints of global warming on these weather disasters. In April, Thailand and Laos broke all-time high temperature records. The scientists say that heat wave was nearly impossible without climate change. The Western Mediterranean shattered temperature records that month in a heat wave made 100 times more likely. Southern Europe roasted again in July. So did China and the United States-Mexico border region. The southwestern U.S. city of Phoenix logged 31 days over 43.3 degrees Celsius, or 110 Fahrenheit. That's a record.
This is not a record anyone wanted to break, but it's definitely one that people in Phoenix are not happy about.
The intensity of these heat waves was almost impossible without climate change, according to World Weather Attribution. But on today's hotter planet, we can expect them every 5, 10, or 15 years. Higher temperatures dry out soils and vegetation faster. That helped make the record-breaking wildfires that ravaged eastern Canada this year at least 7 times more likely and 50% more intense. That's also what amplified the severe droughts in Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and the food security crisis in Somalia and the rest of the Horn of Africa. Both were made at least 100 times more likely.
Although Somalia makes virtually no contribution to climate change, the Somalis are among the greatest victims.
Climate change intensifies droughts, but also floods, because warmer air holds more water, which means heavier rainstorms, like the one that burst dams in Libya in September and killed thousands. The World Weather Attribution Team says it was 50 times more likely and 50% more intense than it would have been without climate change. And November's torrential rains in the Horn of Africa were about twice as intense.
Already the drought has brought many people in the area to the brink of what they are able to deal with. And this now followed by floods really shows the limits of what people can adapt to are really not far off in many parts of the world. And as long as we are keeping burning fossil fuels, these things will happen again and again and again.
Forecasters say El Niño probably will taper off around the middle of next year, but there's no sign that climate change is letting up. As we continue to warm the planet, weather that used to be extreme is happening more and more often. Steve Baragona, VOA News.
It's time for our health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with the latest on malaria. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Esther. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. The International Livestock and Research Institute and the Kenya Medical Research Institute are partnering with the Zoonotic Disease Unit to study how climate change affects the population and species of mosquitoes and disease transmission pattern by vectors. The World Health Organization says rising global temperatures resulting in extreme weather events such as heat waves and flooding can impact the behavior and survival of the malaria-carrying Anopheles mosquito. An increase in temperature, rainfall, and humidity may cause a proliferation of the malaria-carrying mosquitoes, leading to an increase in malaria transmission. Each year, more than 10,000 people die of malaria in Kenya, according to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
With increasing temperature, with increasing amount of rainfall and humidity, there is more breeding. There are more breeding sites, and there is therefore a high chance of transmission of vector-borne diseases like malaria, like dengue, like Rift Valley fever, and chikungunya. And with this, therefore, you are likely to see increased cases of these diseases. And in an area like northern Kenya that is not very well developed in terms of health infrastructure, there will be a strain on the health system.
The reason why we've set up a weather station in this area to be able to capture the different environmental conditions like temperature, like humidity, like wind speed and wind direction, to be able to really relate how these different components of climate could be influencing the population of vectors and also could be influencing the disease trends that we are seeing around here. So other than the weather station, we are also trapping mosquitoes in this region, and we are monitoring the population of mosquitoes during different times of the year.
The WHO 2023 malaria report says about 249 million people worldwide suffered from malaria, thus 16 million more cases than in 2019 before the pandemic. Kenya's health ministry is rolling out a digital health information system to help workers diagnose patients and store their health records. Mohammed Yusuf reports from a village in western Kenya where hospitals have noted an increase in people seeking medical assistance since the deployment of the system.
Mildred Owegi is one of 3,000 community health promoters in Kisumu County in western Kenya. Owegi, who has been doing this work for 30 years, recently started using a digital health information system on the job. A phone app allows her to diagnose diseases before administering medication and to know when to advise people to visit a health facility.
Because normally we are using these handouts. We are just using handouts. And the phone is good because the phone is directing you on what to do. So you can do what the phone is telling you. So you can do the right thing.
Lillian Okello, a mother of twins, is embracing the new system.
I like the digital way of taking the health data of the children, because when they always come, I always see them just reading what is in the phone and doing exactly what they're supposed to do compared to the manual one.
Kenya launched the digital health information system last month, providing smartphones to 100,000 health workers nationwide with the goal of improving the quality of healthcare. Health experts say the system could push Kenya closer to universal health coverage, ensuring people can access healthcare services anytime and anywhere. In the past few weeks, in this hospital in Kisumu County, the number of patients seeking medical services has increased from 700 to 1,800.
The number of patients has increased a lot. More so, again, the guys who have achieved a lot in terms of the digitalization of HIV clans and TB clans, because we can detect them early, we call them a day before, and they come.
The local government says the deployment of electronic system allows it to plan for the healthcare needs of the people.
So we don't have to look for data because it is within a touch, and we can use it to make a project what we might have. For example, we can say that next year we're expecting this number of the deliveries. Next year, this year we expect to consume this amount of commodities. This year, these are our baseline mobility levels. So we expect next year we need to prepare for a similar or something higher or lesser.
The project still faces hurdles such as the lack of reliable data networks in some areas. For now, health workers are advised to seek places with good connectivity when helping people in need. Mohammed Yusuf, VOA News, Kolal, Kenya.
That's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on X at Lenore Mudu. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Lenore. Be sure to watch Lenore Mudu's health reports every Tuesday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.